Hi everybody, welcome to Sake Stuff Friday. For the first time in the history of Sake Stuff Friday, I have someone joining me. I am joined today by Ben Bell, who is from Arkansas, but is currently training at Nanbu Bijin Brewery in the north of Japan in Iwate, one of my personal favorites. And I'm here joined by Ben. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
We are currently drinking Ben's what'd you call it?
Study batch.
Study batch.
Study batch, yeah.
So it's a batch, a tank that they gave him at Nanbu Bijin that he could control and make. It is Junmai Ginjo, delicious, obviously, with the same delicious Nanbu Bijin well water that they're famous for. So Ben, tell me a little bit about your background and what brought you to Iwate and Nanbu Bijin.
Sure, yeah. Well, I started in the drinks business probably about 11 years ago, which was, I think I was 23, so yeah, didn't waste time.
Right.
Yeah, and I started studying wine. It was a wine specialty shop that I started at, so I started studying wine, got a certification in that, then I went to spirits, and then after that, sake and craft beer.
Nice.
And I worked, my most recent job before I started at Nanbu Bijin was managing kind of a craft beer specialty restaurant. So really dug into craft beer for that.
Nice.
But I'd been doing sake for a while before that. Sake brewing was always in the back of my mind. So the way I got started with sake was a friend of mine about 7 years ago. He asked me if I wanted to homebrew sake, and I'd never homebrewed anything before, but since Arkansas is the rice state, we're the #1 maker of rice in the U.S. California's #2. I think people in Arkansas always think about making sake. It's kind of in people's minds all the time. And then this is kind of a funny aside, but whenever we're thinking about a name, somebody always, I feel like once a month somebody comes up with the name Arkansas, and then they say, "I've got it, I got the name," and come up. And I feel like that's been happening for like 15 years or so.
Sure.
So we brewed some sake. It was dobroku. It was just rough.
Rough, unfiltered,
home
sake.
style, homemade sake. Not great, but it was #1. It was fun to make. And of course, you get that good feeling of drinking something that you made yourself.
Right.
But also, it certainly got me thinking, like, yeah, this is something I could see myself doing. And it was kind of a slow build to where I am now, training at Nanbu Bijin. But eventually, I got there. I went through John Gontner's sake professional courses. Did the advanced in Tokyo a couple years ago. And then kind of all the while I was asking around where I could train, and I actually trained at a different brewery in Yamagata called Mitobe Shuzo. They make Yamagata Masamune, which is
great sake.
Great sake.
Yeah, it is.
But the way I got Nanbu Bijin was kind of interesting. Hot Springs, Arkansas has a sister city in Iwate Prefecture, where Nanbu Bijin is, a city called Hanamaki. Hanamaki is the home of the Nanbutoji Brewing Guild. It's a very good coincidence for me wanting to brew sake, and I lived in Hot Springs for high school, during my high school years. So I had a connection there, and so I asked through them, and basically they hooked me up with Nanbu Bijin, and that's where I am right now. I just finished my first year at Nanbu Bijin making sake, which culminated in my study batch, and once brewing was over, I actually worked at a local co-op growing rice, and we made ginotome rice, which is the same rice that's used for this bottle, although I didn't make this rice, but next year I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to use rice that I helped make in the fields.
That's so great. It's like a whole complete circle.
It'll be from seed, germinating those seeds to bottling.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's an amazing opportunity to have that.
Yes.
That's really cool.
So
what goals were you hoping to accomplish by going to Nanbu Bijin? Obviously to brew sake, but
certainly.
What's your end goals at a brewery?
The big thing is I want, because growing rice is such a big part of Arkansas's identity. Drinks is my thing. I want sake to become part of Arkansas's identity. So the goal is definitely to train at this one of the greatest breweries in Japan and thus the world. Right. And take what I've learned and come back and make world-class sake in Arkansas. And not just that, but also, I want to help grow a brewing scene in Arkansas. Sure. But of course, I think we both want to grow a brewing scene in America.
Without a doubt. It's kind of, I talk to a lot of, I used to work in the beer industry, so I talk to a lot of people We're kind of way back in the late 70s, early 80s, where craft beer was, where you had these people traveling to Europe, Belgium, and Germany, and England, and bringing back ale brewing, which at the time barely existed in America, and then using that to brew more flavorful and more balanced and character-driven ales, right? And then that created a whole entire market, which we see today. It's like 3,000 breweries strong.
Huge now.
The interesting thing is, though, it's had a reverse effect on, let's say, England, where ales were dying out. Everybody was brewing lagers.
Yeah.
And now they're drinking more ales because of how popular it's gotten here.
Yeah.
And so one of my things that I've always kept in the back of my head is that sake in Japan is only about 8 or 9% of the overall market. Every year it creeps down.
Yeah.
Although premium sake,
Ginjo,
daiginjos go up.
Yeah.
So my thought was, if we can build a strong enough market here in America, hopefully we can have the reverse effect and start growing another sort of second coming in Japan.
I feel like that will happen. I feel like that will definitely happen, especially because young drinkers in Japan, they like now. I feel like they want to be a little more international. Of course, they drink a lot of shochu, but wine is probably the biggest growth category, I think, among young drinkers in Japan.
Because it's so international and cosmopolitan.
Yeah, it feels very cosmopolitan. But I think the same people who want to feel, a little more culturally a part of the greater world, when they see that sake, especially the thing that comes from their country, becoming so popular with international cosmopolitan people, they'll say, "Oh yeah, maybe we should give this another look." And because Ginjoshu is already growing a little bit with that demographic, I think another sake boom could be coming for Japan.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I'd love to have that kind of reverse effect on Japan, because we love so many Japanese sake brewers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously our goals are the same. We just brew the best sake you can and try to grow the market. The biggest thing for us is education.
Yes.
And so, sake brewers are, they don't have the manpower where they can send lots of people here, representatives.
Yeah.
So for us, we're here, we're local, and hopefully our sake will be good enough where we can get people to drink it, but also just tons of education and dinners and tastings and that kind of thing.
It's a lot of, it may be the same for you, but for me, it's a lot of, the questions right now are a lot of, what is this exactly?
Right.
How
is
do you,
it a beer?
How do you serve it? Yeah, I feel like there will come a point when knowledge in general, because now, we see there's more articles being written about sake, and then I'm starting to see a little more advanced level articles happening that gets beyond the what is this.
Right.
But I feel for the market in general, for a long time, we'll have to answer those questions. And then there will come a point when people in general kind of know what sake is, and we don't have to say, yeah, it's not a wine because it's not made from fruit, but it's also not really a beer because the alcohol is completely different. Making koji is completely different. Right. And then people will just know, okay, well, sake is sake, and then we can start talking about, some more advanced concepts about, well, what are some interesting things that sake can do that no other category can do. That's from an educational standpoint, that's the most interesting to me. It's what is it that really makes sake unique, and those things are very interesting.
Yeah, I hope we can get over that initial hurdle relatively quickly. Like, it's sake, it's not beer, it's not wine, it's not a spirit, it's not any of that. It's a unique beverage that has thousands of years of history. And is interesting in its own right. You don't need to make cocktails with it, you can just drink it as is. And so hopefully we can get over that hurdle and then start to get into the more advanced, kind of more interesting stuff about, hey, look, all these directions it can go.
Sure. And then you can talk about, koshu or different aging in bottle and what effect does this have? Different milling rates. What is this? What effect? Yamahai, Kimoto. I know that's probably what we really want to talk about. Like that.
Probably. But it's you can't lead with that. I don't think.
No.
So our position has been as a brewery to put out two very approachable styles first. So we're putting out a junmai, like a highly filtered aromatic style, and then a nigori, which is like a sweeter, sort of your sweet, fun, sort of less challenging, but still really complex cousin, and then lead with those. And then later on, once we build a little bit more of a market, we can come with
start making variations.
Wild fermented and all that kind of stuff.
And I think people will learn, I think especially younger drinkers now, but not just younger drinkers, but the way the market is now, and especially people coming from craft beer, they are so savvy and do so much research online about the product. I mean, like craft beer drinkers, They will sometimes know, I know from a retail standpoint, they would know when a beer was being released in our state before we did.
Right.
Yeah.
They show up at your store and you're like, I haven't heard from my distributor.
And I'm like, what is it? It's coming. Yeah, and then we'll call and they'll be like, yeah, we did just get that. And I'm like,
this is scary.
Yeah, it is. But that's how it is now, and people can do so much research, and there are so many people who are motivated to do it. Yeah. I think we can get to that level
I think so.
Quickly.
Quickly, yeah. I think as domestic sake brewers, we can be approachable and we can be accessible.
Yes,
right?
yes. Yeah. But certainly the key is at first, you have to be approachable. Right?
Absolutely.
There will be so many people who are just trying it for the first time and having to overcome also bad stereotypes about sake, which those are the people who generally think sake is a spirit or something.
Yeah, I had a woman at a tasting just walk by the table. And I had world-class sakes, and she said, no, I don't like sake. I said, have you ever had it? And she said, no, I have never had it. And she said, someone told me like 10 years ago that it tastes like soy sauce. And I don't understand that. I've never had a sake that tasted like soy sauce.
Yeah.
And so I made her stop and drink. I had Dasai 23,
sure, yeah,
and, which is like almost $200 a bottle, and it's so ethereal and fruity,
like pristine and delicate,
right? And I made her try it because I was like, this is like no soy sauce I've ever had. But yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions, but hopefully we can get over that. Yeah. But do you have hope for the future of American sake brewing?
Oh yeah, well I think of course we're the biggest export market for sake right now, and so the interest is, I feel like the interest is there and it's growing. But there's some things that sake has to do for domestic sake. To me, there's two things that have to be done for sake to really grow in the U.S. One is obvious, and that's quality. That's we need the technique. We need good rice. We have good water in our country, and if you need to make adjustments to water, absolutely you can. And so those things, when they're all aligned, when you have all the things that you need, we can make good sake. When the quality is there, now we're in business. Now we're really talking about American sake. And then to me, the other thing is price. Price is a big deal. Sake to me would already be very popular. Not American sake per se, but imported sake would be a lot more popular if the prices were the same as they were in Japan. Right. Which is just it hurts a little. Buying $35 bottles here and then going to Japan and seeing the same thing for 1,300 yen which is like maybe $11.
It's very difficult.
And and I think the quality to price ratio for these sakes in Japan is amazing. Like, this is a deal. This quality is so good. If this were the price here, people would be snatching these bottles up, and you would see just unbelievable growth. But of course, that's hard to do when the sake is taking a boat ride halfway around the world, and then you have tariffs and all these things. So what's interesting to me about domestic production, about making sake in the U.S., is we could fill that niche. We can be
the middle ground.
We can be the middle ground. There's no middle ground right now. So
there's cheap sake and there's amazing sake, and the price reflects that.
It's good, and honestly, if I feel like if you can go for it, then it is worth it. But
we can we can sort of inhabit that middle ground and be accessible for education. And our sake is going, as someone recently quoted me in an article, our sake has to go 8 miles, not 8,000. Right.
Yes, exactly.
Which is huge for quality.
So I think when domestic sake is getting near that Japanese quality, and we're hitting, for a 750 milliliter bottle, regular wine size bottle, we're hitting, somewhere between like $10 and $25. Then the boom is coming. And it's probably going to be a few years before. I mean, because you need a massive breweries as well. So to me, obviously, that makes it a lot more of a community proposition where it helps for people to work together and build the scene. I'm all about that. But I think those things together, and that's what the future of American sake looks like to me. And it will be good.
It will be good.
It'll be great.
Hopefully. Cool. Well, thanks for joining me for Sake Stuff Friday. It was great to drink a lot of sake with you.
Yes.
And thanks for joining us for a quick video, and we'll see you next Friday. As always, keep drinking great sake. Cheers.